Of the colors from the honor guard. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to the 2015 Honor Assembly. I'm Chief Thomas, Appleton Police Department. Thank you for joining us. A couple people I want to thank before we get started. First, the kids that handed out the bulletins at the door. Those are officers, children that agreed to help us, so thank you. You guys did a great job. The Honor Guard, never out of step again. I'm always impressed by the work that they do. Thank you, Beth, for organizing most of this event. And there are other volunteers that are here. We've helped out daily, on a daily basis. Our volunteers here somewhere else doing things. I'm still amazed at all the work that they do for us. Police Week is a somber week. We're here to remember those who gave their lives for us, and we thank them for their service. We will always not only remember their names, but we will remember the sacrifice they made for the Appleton Police Department badge. And that badge that we wear, we commit to never tarnish their name. Officer Malon John Day is on the watch December 24th, 1955 from a motorcycle crash. Officer Alfred Dunn, end of watch November 2nd, 1926, also from a motorcycle crash. This is also a week to celebrate our profession and those who are serving in it. We welcome new officers to the APD family and recognize the excellent job many of our employees have done in the last year. I want to thank the awards committee for all the work they did, reviewing and working on these awards. The names are on the back of your program. And I want to thank you for all your time. And Lieutenant Jeff Miller, the chairman of the awards committee, will be assisting me. At this time, I'd like to ask the mayor to step forward to read a proclamation.
Thank you, Chief. And I just want to take a moment and welcome everybody here. This is always a wonderful celebration. I'm in awe when I look around and I see our men and women in uniform who I have the pleasure of interacting with regularly and so proud of, but then to see their friends and family to come here and to recognize their service and to see the faces of the people who support our men and women who put their lives on the line for us every day. So for those family members that are here, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here tonight to help us celebrate Police Week and to just I can't help but think this sends such a strong message to our department, to our new officers, and our officers who've been here a long time, just how much support they have from our friends and family and from our community. It just makes me extremely proud. Well, I have the following proclamation. Whereas the week of May 10th through 16th, 2015 marks National Police Week, and whereas members of the Appleton Police Department have played an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Appleton, and whereas the police officers of the City of Appleton continually fight crime and solve problems, and whereas the Appleton Police Department has provided a high level of leadership within the community, and whereas the Appleton Police Department continuously and professionally provides a vital public service through policing efforts. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Timothy M. Hanna, Mayor of the City of Appleton, do hereby proclaim the week of May 10th through 16th, 2015 as a week to celebrate policing in Appleton. And I call upon citizens of Appleton and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe this week with appropriate ceremonies in which all of our people may join in commemorating police officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their community, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. Congratulations to our award winners tonight, and a thanks to all of the members of our Appleton Police Department, both sworn and civilian. We very much appreciate your service, not just this week, but every week throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Also like to recognize Patty Coonan. She is a big supporter of the police department. Thank you for coming. Appreciate that. Also, I'd like to recognize some police and fire commissioners that are in attendance. President Dale Shoemaker and Commissioner Harvey Sampson would like to say a few words. I don't think you need a mic, do you, Harvey?
You know, I get tired of the lawyer jokes. That's all right. Dale looked at what I was going to say and said, boy, that's unusual when a lawyer talks that short a time. Dale Shoemaker is the chair of the Police and Fire Commission. I am the secretary. There are 3 other members of the commission. We are statutorily sworn to be involved with hiring, discipline, and promotion of all sworn personnel in both the fire department and the police department. As a sidelight, Dale Shoemaker has been on this commission a very long time. In November, he will have served 39 years as the chair of this commission. To a large degree, the form of the fire department and the police department is because of his vision 39 years ago when he insisted that David Gorski be hired as the chief of the Appleton Police Department. The then mayor did not want that to occur, and that was Dale's very first meeting as the chair of the commission. On behalf of the Appleton Police and Fire Commission and the citizens that we represent concerning the liberty of protection, public protection services, we want to thank all of the members of the Appleton Police Department, both sworn and civilian, for their dedication and commitment to the ideals and principles, not only of the Appleton Police Department, but to protecting the rights of all citizens and visitors to our wonderful city. The quality of life that we enjoy would not be possible without each and every one of you. Thank you for your dedication.
I have to comment,
There is a very large dog over there that is an officer. He has a badge and a number and all sorts of things. I would note we did not interview him. Although the very first dog that we had here by the name of Eros, we did interview him. If you want to hear the story, I'll tell you later.
Thank you, Harvey. We now come to the part of probably one of the best jobs that a chief has, the best part of the job, and those people that do background investigations, future officers, is the hiring and the background process, hiring new officers. It's a joy to see the quality of candidates that we have available to us, and that we're able to hire here at the Appleton Police Department. We're blessed and lucky to have that. Is Ellis here? We had one new hire, actually two new hires, but one was a actual human being who the CSO, Ellis Brooks. He's been with us for a while. Fortunately, this is kind of a welcoming, going away party. We just got a job offer from Allegheny County Sheriff's Department to work in the jail, I believe. So, but we're going to still stay in contact with him. Try to get him back here. Our next officer is probably our most popular officer, and it's not Craig. Sorry, Craig. Get used to it. Wassink left his mark here a few weeks ago. We're still kind of working on cleaning up the floor. But it's a promise that he's been much better now. And we may need some more money in the budget for carpet. But Wassink, maybe Craig, you can come forward and talk a little bit about how old Wassink is and the training he's involved in. I'm a big supporter of K9, huge advocate. I think they're an excellent tool. They protect the officers, they protect the public, and they're a great way to reach out and engage the community.
This is Wassink. He's 2.5. He's originally from Germany. I picked him up end of February in Albuquerque, and we spent 6 weeks out in Albuquerque training. We got back. We've still been training. Right now, we're presenting for certification, so we're halfway through that. We had 2 more days to go to get become fully certified by the judge. He's a very social dog. He's a very big dog. He's got some holes. But no, he's been really good so far. He definitely likes people. People do fun things with him. eBay? That's just fine. He's trained for narcotics detection, tracking, and patrol work.
Good dog.
Seeds.
Part of what makes Appleton PD so strong is the diverse background that we have in all our employees. And this crop of new officers represents that. We've got military people, we've got a horse whisperer, we've got several military people. We've got a Louisville officer, former Louisville, Kentucky officer. We've got a detective from Grand Chute. We've got a police officer from Brazil. You can't get much more diverse than that, and they're all excellent candidates. If you could stand as I read your name, and keep standing until we have you take the oath, please. Officer Ryan forgot. He's actually the senior to me. Know that, did you? He's a former CSO, which is near and dear to my heart, obviously. He's also an Army veteran, served in Iraq. His military experience is clearly some of the best. I attended some rescue task force training with Ryan just a few weeks ago, and just watching him move his tactics and listening to him talk to some of the officers, and he has a wealth of knowledge that we're going to be able to learn from. With Ryan here today is his wife Kelly and his son Condon. Officer Conway. Conway is an officer that comes from Louisville. He's originally from the area and wanted to come back home. Graduated from UW Whitewater. His wife is Molly. He's got children Nicholas and Ariel. He's the first officer I've hired here, so I'm very proud of that. And if you see that picture of him not smiling, I think that's probably the only time I've seen that not smiling. It's not to the point of irritating yet, but thank you. Officer Stephanie Wiener. Officer Wiener graduated from UW Oshkosh. She worked at the jail, Outagamie County Jail for a while. Attended the last recruit academy at Fox Valley Tech, where she received the Colts Award for servant leadership. She's probably going to be my daughter's most favorite officer because she worked with horses and did horse therapy. She worked out on some ranches out west. But she also volunteered in the Gulf Coast area after the hurricanes with her church. So that's the type of servant heart that we're looking for. Officer Kyle Reichers. Oh, good. See, you gave me control of something back in that. We talked about that. Officer Kyle Reichers. Again, he has been a CSO with us since 2013. Graduated from UW Oshkosh. He is also a military veteran. Was a former intelligence officer in the military. Extremely intelligent. I've had one-on-one meetings with all the officers, almost all the officers here. I enjoyed the conversation with Carl. Probably went for 45 minutes or so, but extremely intelligent, an amazing background. If you have a chance to sit and talk with him, fellow officers, you'd be amazed at what he has. He's a new homeowner in Appleton. Also married. His wife Chue is here. Mike Renkus, Officer Mike Renkus. Officer Renkus comes to us from Grand Chue Police Department, and I just told him earlier that Chief Peterson is now talking to me again. We're working through it. But we're extremely happy to get Mike here. He is graduated from Fox Valley Tech. His wife Andrea and a child, Kaden. He is a former drug officer with Grand Chute, also a former detective. Many of the officers that work here approached me when they heard that Mike's name was in the process and we were looking at hiring him, begging me to hire Mike. He's got that type of reputation here, so we're extremely happy that he joined us. Officer Eric Aguilar. Eric is a former police officer in Brazil. Born in New York, I believe, right? New York. Born in New York, moved to Brazil, became a police officer in Brazil. He's got unbelievable life experiences. What you imagine his job was like as a Brazilian police officer is accurate. You're picturing the right thing. So he's very happy to be back here. Hopefully his wife will be joining him soon. And I think he's going to be a wonderful addition to the community and to our family. Officer Brandon Schneezy. Brandon is a graduate of UW Oshkosh. He's a former at-risk teacher from East High School. Actually got connected with one of our school officers, PSLs, and was convinced to maybe look at law enforcement as a career. Brandon worked with at-risk children at East High School, had an outstanding reputation with the kids and the staff there. He's got unique knowledge and experience dealing with these kids. That's a population that we all deal with all too often. So he's going to bring some wonderful experiences and education to help us all out and make us all better dealing with those kids. He's going to attend the Recruit Academy and will be joining us in 3 months or so. At this time, I'd like to call up the Assistant City Attorney, Amanda Jaden, to administer the oath.
If each of you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Having been duly qualified and appointed as a police officer for the city of Appleton, do hereby swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, uphold the laws of the state of Wisconsin, and the ordinances of the city of Appleton, obey all lawful orders of my superiors, adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
You know, be seated. The pinning of the badge is that next official step, and I still remember the first time badge was pinned on me, and most officers do. And at this time, I'd like to call you forward one at a time and have your family member step forward to pin on the badge. Ryan? Pinning on his badge will be his wife, Kelly. Officer Conway, and pinning on his badge will be his wife, Molly. Officer Wiener, I get the privilege of putting on her badge. That's your last name. Officer Kyle Reichers. His wife, Sheng, will be pinning on his badge. Officer Mike Rankus. And pinning John, his badge is going to be his wife, Andrea. Officer Eric Aguilar, and pinning on his badge will be his friend Marcos Rosa. And Officer Brandon Schnee's opinion on his badge will be his father, Rick. Thank you all. One of the, your new chief, one of the first messages you send is by the people that you promote. It sends a message on what you value and what's important to you. The process that the applicants went through for this lieutenant captain process was pretty challenging. They had to go through 3 different interviews. Go through the interview with the Police and Fire Commission and the chief's interview. They also had to, one of the things I did is I wanted input from all the other employees in the department on their feelings on each candidate. So we did a survey of all the employees, sworn and non-sworn, and what their thoughts were on each specific candidate. And we used some of that in our decision making. I wanted to know how approachable they were, how hardworking, how trustworthy, how flexible they were, and how much they were trusted by their coworkers. And that meant a lot. The 3 that we're going to promote today, I can't speak more highly of them. The first one, Lieutenant Mike Wallace. Stand up, Mike. Mike Wallace began his career at the Appleton Police Department as an officer in November of 2004. Most recently, he's been assigned to the patrol district in the Southern District. He has earned his bachelor's degree from UW-Oshkosh. His wife, Rebecca, and him have 2 young children, Evan and Kaylee. He's an FTO for many officers here. He's one of our go-to FTOs. A lot of words to describe Mike. Kids probably could describe him best. A lot of words to describe Mike from his coworkers, and repeatedly I heard things like hardworking, humble, a go-to guy, a guy that doesn't like the spotlight, but he's always there when you need him, an officer who does an outstanding job in whatever task you give him. We're pleased that Mike will be joining us as a lieutenant. Bill McCormick. Bill began his career with the Appleton Police Department November of 2002. He became a sergeant in July of 2011. Most recently, Bill has been in the role of a threat assessment officer. This is a brand new position that was created, and it wasn't given a lot of direction. He was given the position and basically asked to do with it what you want. He's done an outstanding job. He's taken it places I don't think anybody ever expected it to go. He's a member of the National Guard. He's a sniper on the SWAT team. Also won a national competition as a SWAT sniper. But again, he's a very humble person. The words that we've heard described to describe Bill are some of the same words. Great leadership skills, very trustworthy, very honest, and one of those go-to people if an officer has a question or concern. At this point, I would like to call up Amanda to swear in the two lieutenants.
You can each raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Michael McCormick,
Having been duly qualified and appointed
and having been duly qualified and appointed
as a lieutenant of police for the city of Appleton,
as a lieutenant of police for the city of Appleton,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
uphold the laws of the state of Wisconsin
uphold the laws of the state of Wisconsin,
and the ordinances of the city of Appleton,
and the ordinances of the city of Appleton,
obey all lawful orders of my superiors,
obey all lawful orders of my superiors,
adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics,
and faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and faithfully discharge the duties of my office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Lieutenant Wallace will step forward, and his wife Becca will be pinning his badge. The little ones stay. No, they're coming. They're coming. Come get them. Lieutenant McCormick, could you step forward? Sitting on his badge will be his wife, Lori. Thank you. Lieutenant Potter, can you stand? Larry Potter, he began his career with the Appleton Police Department. I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with that. It's America's Most Wanted. I too, you said there. Larry Potter began his career with Appleton as a CSO in 1991. Became an officer in 1993. sergeant in 2001, a lieutenant in 2008. Most recently, Larry's been overseeing the PSL, or the School Resource Officer Program. Done an excellent job with that. I was amazed at some of the responses that I got. And I had known this about Larry and heard this about Larry. Probably one of the most respected people that work in this building. Truly is a servant leader and has a humility and an intelligence, approachability that is second to none. And I'm honored to promote him to captain. Amanda, you want to step forward and administer the oath?
Please raise your right hand. I, Larry Potter, having been duly qualified and appointed as a captain of police for the city of Appleton, do hereby swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, uphold the laws of the state of Wisconsin, and the ordinances of the city of Appleton, obey all lawful orders of my superiors, adhere to the law enforcement code of ethics, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Wife, Pieper, stop forward and get on his badge. This time, you're all excused if you want to join your families. Just take a minute here. Our first group of award recipients, if they meet in the back hallway: Clayton Jones, Ben Johnson, Beth, John Walschlager, Terry Meyer, John Shira, Brian Lietzinger, Neil Robis, Chue, Thao, Adam Nagel, Tony Iverson, Jackie Gleiss, Chris Bees, Todd Peters, and Jay Steinke. Just take a minute here. The Honor Guard will walk in this group of award winners. There's restrooms in the side hallway here. Most people know that, but if you need to use the restrooms, it'll take a couple Please be seated. Again, thank you to the awards committee for all the work they did reviewing all the nominations. It's a difficult process, it's a long process. They did an outstanding job. Thank you, Lieutenant Miller, for coordinating and being the chair. This time I'd like to start with the Volunteer of the Year Awards. These are some of the most enjoyable ones that we have, and especially this year. Clayton Jones, can you stand up, please? Why don't you come over here, Clayton? Clayton has been working volunteering since 2012. He diligently arrives every Thursday afternoon ready to work. His tasks include the handicap parking program, creating inter-office mailing envelopes, copying and folding brochures, fixing labels, alphabetizing files, ensuring our form racks are stocked, stapling handouts for the kids, erasing and destroying tapes, restocking the brochure rack in the lobby, stuffing treat bags, and a whole bunch of other assignments. In addition, Clayton's quick to offer a smile and always a positive addition to our team. For a dedicated level of service, aiding us in the accomplishment of our mission, we proudly present Clayton Jones with the Appleton Police Department Volunteer of the Year Award. Ben Johnson. Since 2012, Ben has been a volunteer with the Appleton Police Department. We look forward to seeing him on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He works on our handicap parking program, cleaning and setting up chairs for events, folding brochures, making copies, making labels, erasing tapes, restocking paper, hole punching documents, shredding confidential materials, but even more than that, he's accomplished. He brings a enthusiasm and an energy and laughter and joy to our halls. For a dedicated level of volunteer service aiding us in the accomplishment of our mission, we proudly present Ben Johnson with the Appleton Police Department Volunteer of the Year Award. The Civilian Employee of the Year Award. She made me make this short. And she made me promise that I could never lie, right? Yes, because I'm a truthful man. So I'm just going to read what she said I could read. Come forward, Beth. Beth Gaziak has been with the department for 24 years. Actually, your father was here since 19... Right. He was here when she was born, which would have been like 37 years ago.
Yeah.
I got this down. She's been with us for 24 years, having worked for 6 different chiefs, 3 of them in the past year alone. And she can write a book on transitioning to chiefs. There's a lot that goes into it, and I would be lost without her. She knows that. In addition to working as an assistant to the chief, she finds great joy in overseeing the volunteer program, recognizing some of the biggest-hearted people in the city. Beth also sees the positive impact volunteering has had on our special needs assistants and values what their personalities bring to the building. She is also the loving sister and mother to all of us, and she makes this place work. For exemplary level of outstanding service to the community, we proudly present Beth Gaziak with the Appleton Police Department Civilian Employee of the Year Award. Career Achievement Award. It's a special award. Law enforcement officers, we don't get into this work to make money. This isn't the mayor said this isn't a profit-driven career, this is a service-driven career. We get into it not wanting attention, but we want to make a difference. And, we all make a difference by the time we retire. We have an impact on people, little and small. And these next two recipients make a large impact, not just on people, but on the entire community. And so they're getting special recognition for it. Retired Sergeant John Walschlager, you step forward. In 13 years, I don't know if anybody's made as big of an impact in law enforcement in 13 years as John has. He's been one of the foundation-laying members of the Honor Guard, instrumental in providing training, attending events, and serving as a uniform and equipment specialist. He researched the uniform and eventually won approval for the currently worn uniform and special badge. Sergeant Walschlager also participated in over 90% of the Honor Guard details recorded, including parades, law enforcement ceremonies, line of duty deaths, funerals, APD retiree funerals, flag ceremonies, and color presentations for various organizations. Sergeant Walschlager also laid the foundation for implementing mental health training for our officers. Working closely with members of NAMI and others within our community, Sergeant Walschlager's passion for providing high-quality training for law enforcement staff and others resulted in a professional crisis intervention team training course. Nearly half of the APD officers are now CIP trained to improve lives and prevent tragedies. This training has spread throughout the state and beyond. Sergeant Walschlager's police work in Appleton has changed and improved lives. He's dedicated countless hours, many of his own time, to working with individuals and families struggling with mental health problems. He also was instrumental in bringing the Allegheny County Peer Support Team into existence, which is near and dear to me, and we will push that forward. For his continuous and long-term exemplary performance of outstanding service to the community and the department, we present retired Sergeant John Walschlager with the Appleton Police Department Career Achievement Awards. Retired Sergeant Terry Meyer. Sergeant Meyer spent the past 28 years at the Appleton Police Department as a field training officer, school liaison officer, fitness instructor, SWAT team member, and SWAT negotiator. While on patrol, he often worked nights in the Southern District. As a school liaison officer, he received the APD Officer of the Year Award for his consistent high performance as a patrol officer. Sergeant Meyer worked a variety of crimes as an investigator, primarily focusing on larger, more complex property crimes and deaths, including unfortunate homicides and officer-involved shootings. He received several commendations over the years for incidents such as robbery investigations, robbery rings hitting pharmacies, and his work as a negotiator on a SWAT call where several children were released after being held by a barricaded parent in 2014. In 2014, he also investigated with the other team members an attempted abduction of a bartender, which resulted in a conviction with a 20-year sentence. In the investigative services unit, he handled the majority of the infant child deaths and suspicious deaths. His strength came from his compassion for the victims and their families. Sergeant Meyer dealt with calming hurting families, gathering information, and helping people understand how something so terrible could occur. It's hard to put into words to a parent how and why a layover death occurred, and the realization that that parent may have contributed to that death. Or why a 10-year-old son committed suicide, or how a trusted family member could shake a child to death. Why we cannot determine the cause of a child's death. He excelled at bringing comfort to these people, and he received numerous letters for very grateful families. And working in investigations, these detectives that work these type of cases, I firmly believe there's a special place in heaven for them. For his continuous and long-term exemplary performance of outstanding service to the community and the department, we represent the Appleton Police Department Career Achievement Award to Sergeant Terry Meyer. Team awards. Team awards are special. We're going to have the first group set down. If you want to return to your seats. This group, when I return to your seats, and then we have the next group will be the team awards, I believe, right? You? Team awards. We all in law enforcement, we all know this isn't a solo job. We're only as strong as our team members around us. And a lot of our cases, our bigger cases, are handled not individually but as team members, and we recognize that. We've got several team awards to present. You don't have to stand, I'll read the names. We'll come forward after I'm done. Sergeant Neil Ravis, Sergeant Kerry Meyer, Brian Lietzinger, and Sergeant John Schirra are receiving the team award for the investigation of the hit-and-run death of bicyclist Robert Jousman. They identified and tracked the suspect vehicle through various traffic and business cameras, not stopping after having some clear images of the truck. The truck was tracked until very good images of a suspect were obtained buying cigarettes at a gas station in Little Sheep. These photos identified the truck and the driver as James Erdman. The four investigators continued to exhaustively work the case, which involved many interviews, analysis of phone calls and text messages, examination and submission of physical evidence, eventually locating the truck and continuing the investigation through information provided by frequently uncooperative witnesses. The suspect's girlfriend's house was staked out when they went to answer the door, and when the girlfriend's mom left, they interviewed her, and she told them the girlfriend was at work. On interviewing the girlfriend, it was found that she had been on the phone with the suspect at the time he struck the victim. Because of the excellent teamwork, Mr. Erdman pled no contest to the charge of hit-and-run causing death and was subsequently sentenced to 8 years in prison and 10 years of extended supervision. For their excellent investigative teamwork, Sergeant Neil Ravis, Sergeant Kerry Meyer, Sergeant Brian Lietzinger, and Sergeant John Schirra, we present them with the Appleton Police Department Team Award. You all step forward. We have another team award. Lieutenant J. Steinke, Lieutenant Todd Peters, Sergeant Chris Bees, Sergeant Jackie Gleiss, Sergeant Tony Iverson, and Sergeant Neil Ravis, Sergeant Chue Thao, and Officer Adam Nagel for the exemplary actions in responding to the stabbing that occurred at Antros on College Avenue. The initial call was for a disturbance at the establishment, which then turned into a large fight on the dance floor with a male subject using a knife to stab several people. The scene was extremely volatile when the officers arrived and dangerous. Officers dealt with agitated, intoxicated, and aggressive witnesses and patrons. Some of them described this, and these are experienced officers that worked a lot of these calls, as one of the most chaotic and violent encounters that they had experienced. Officers detained the suspect with a taser deployment. 3 males were transported to the hospital for treatment, and 1 required surgery for severe stab wounds. The surveillance video from Antro confirmed the person arrested that night appeared to be the sole person responsible for the knife attack, and the video clearly showed the suspect coming back to the bar with the knife and stabbing the victim. The knife and the sheath were both recovered, and the subject was charged with 3 counts of aggravated battery. Because of their excellence in a particular assignment or task, which was outstanding and worthy of commendation by a team of officers, we present Lieutenant J. Steinke, Lieutenant Todd Peters, Sergeant Chris Bees, Sergeant Jackie Gleiss, Sergeant Tony Iverson, Sergeant Neil Ravis, Sergeant Chue Thao, and Officer Adam Nagel with the Appleton Police Department Team Award. If you could all step forward, please. We give them all one more hand. Now, if this group could join the family, and we will have a second group. Meet us in the back hallway. You want to go in the back hallway. Matt Pieper, Mark Moderson, Jeremy Haney, Chue, Thao, Steinke, Wassink, Wills, and Weiske, Charlie Klauck, Greg Pieper, Brandon Edwards, and Ryan Condon. Again, it'll take just a minute to get set up. Please be seated. Thank you. These individual awards that we're now going to present will be explained on the screen. Now Beth's in charge of the clicker, so really smooth now. Officer Matt Pieper, if you could step forward, please. Is Laura here? Isabel? Isabel? 6 days old, new father, brand new father, congratulations. Officer Matt Pieper has investigated several cases of significance, displaying compassion to the victims while working tirelessly to see the suspect brought to justice. Officer Pieper got a confession from a babysitter who admitted that she had boxed an 18-month-old's ears as she was frustrated over her crying. Another incident, he was able to work with multiple agencies across the country to arrest a man for possession of child pornography. Further, Officer Pieper worked closely with one suspect's probation officer, was able to recover video evidence from a phone showing the assault of a child. Officer Pieper has completed several child porn cases this year, initiated through cyber tips from the Department of Criminal Investigations. He has also scheduled numerous community meetings on high-risk and high-media attention sex offenders, which is always challenging and difficult to do, and he's done an outstanding job. His continued level of service characterized as outstanding and worthy of commendation. We proudly present Officer Matt Pieper of the Appleton Police Department the Meritorious Service Award. Sergeant Mark Moderson. These are the stories that tug at my heart. I think people have figured me out now they get this. Sergeant Mark Moderson often goes beyond expected with a great compassion for others. Sergeant Moderson was doing just a random neighborhood canvass after a burglary, which was just going around the houses in the area, checking to see if anybody had seen anything suspicious or noticed if anybody there that was unusual. Sometimes it's knocking on a door, nobody's home, and you move on to the next door. He was doing this canvass and he heard some noises from inside the house. Could have turned and walked away and went to the next house and finished up his call, but he didn't. He dug into it a little deeper. Eventually got his way into the house and he found an elderly female who had been fallen down, had been on the ground for 4 to 5 days, dehydrated, and you can imagine the condition she was in. So he did save her life, did bring her medical care, obviously, and then he continued to go back and check on her and make sure she was okay after she returned home. Similarly, he also found a female that was highly intoxicated, an alcohol problem, not knowing when she had last eaten and in a state of horrible hygiene. She was deemed untreatable by the courts, but Sergeant Moderson recognized our duty to ensure her welfare when she was incapacitated. He spent time working with the family and others working towards long-term inpatient treatment for this female. And he also kept other officers informed on how to handle the future calls with this victim if they ever got sent to that address. It's a compassion. That's a core value of the Appleton Police Department that he exhibited. For his continued level of service characterized as outstanding and great compassion worthy of commendation, we present Sergeant Mark Moderson, the Appleton Police Department Meritorious Service Award. Your partner, Jeremy. He's tired. Officer Jeremy Haney, can you step up? They've been training. The canines have been at training all day long, so I'm sure he's probably exhausted. Officer Jeremy Haney has been assigned as a canine handler with Gecko. His fine efforts have made Appleton Police Department patrol a more effective unit from operations involving the tracking of suspects to narcotics detection and interdiction. Officer Haney ensures officers are comfortable with canine Gecko and that they are working safely with the canine, encouraging them to use the canine as an available tool. In 2014, Officer Haney and Gecko exceeded 300 deployments. That's so amazing. He assisted in taking countless drug dealers and criminals off the street. Many traffic stops resulted in felony arrests where criminals were in possession of drugs, firearms, stolen guns, and other items. These arrests would not have happened without Officer Haney and Gecko. Because of his excellence in the assignment of canine handler and his continued level of service characterized as outstanding and worthy of commendation, we present Officer Jeremy Haney, the Appleton Police Department's Meritorious Service Award. Sergeant Chue Thao. Sergeant Chue Thao's investigative skills brought successful closure to numerous violent crimes in the past year. During the investigation of the shooting at the Law Street Apartments, his relentless investigation, often working with uncooperative victims, led to 10 arrests. Many of those were felony charges, including conspiracy to commit robbery with use of force, reckless endangering the use of a force of a firearm, felony possession of firearms, and bail jumping. In a cab driver robbery at knife point by an unknown individual, Sergeant Thao's investigation eventually led to 3 arrests. On another investigation, Sergeant Thao confined a female escort who took a knife to an elderly male whom she had convinced to give him a ride. When cases have very small chance of solvability, Sergeant Thao finds something and searches to get a successful and prosecutable case. I have heard comments from the District Attorney's Office. The reports they received from him are extensive and clearly written and outstanding. Sergeant Thao is also an excellent resource for his fellow officers. He shares investigative talents and he helps them take others to the next level. I met with several of the detectives, and the term that keeps coming up when we talk about Chue is rock star, and he truly is one of our rock star investigators. For his exemplary performance of outstanding service to the department that is above and beyond the call of duty, which brings unusual acclaim to the department, we present Sergeant Chue Thao with the Distinguished Service Medal. Sergeant Lieutenant Steinke here. I believe he was going to make it for the family event. The Lifesaving medals are special medals. They are rarely given out, and they are given out to those individuals that whose actions save a life. Sergeant Tom Wassink, please step forward. An Appleton man called his mother in another state, stating that he no longer wanted to live and was in his running car in the garage of his house. She repeatedly told him to turn off the car, but he didn't. During this time, another person was contacting the Appleton Police Department at the mother's request. The son hung up on his mother. When Sergeant Wassink arrived, he gained entry to the closed garage and found the subject unconscious inside the car. Quickly pulled the victim out of the vehicle in the garage and performed first aid and resuscitated the victim. The ambulance arrived and the subject received critical medical attention as needed. The mother of the subject later wrote to me, Sergeant Wassink responded and immediately gained access to the garage and dragged our son, who at that point was unconscious, out of the car and got him in the ambulance. In doing so, Sergeant Wassink entered a carbon monoxide-filled garage without hesitation and with danger to himself to save a life. His actions did not end there. He was calming and protective presence for our son once he was in the hospital and assisted him in getting protection from his fiancée who had attacked him earlier. For Sergeant Tom Wassink's performance of an act which, through his prompt and alert actions under unusual circumstances, saved the life of another, we present him with the Appleton Police Department Lifesaving Medal. Lieutenant Dan Weiske, Sergeant Rob Wills, step forward. Retired Sergeant Rob Wills. During the early morning hours, several officers were pursuing a subject who had been just committed a burglary at 1400 block of North Kenilworth. Other officers were searching a wooded area to the east of Peabody Park when they located a man approximately 75 feet out into the river. The man was struggling to keep his head above the water. Lieutenant Weiske called for the fire department's water rescue team to respond. He then saw the subject go under the water. At that point, Lieutenant Weiske and Sergeant Wills went into the river, knowing without their assistance, the subject would likely drown. He swam to the individual and pulled him to shore and rescued him. The subject was then transferred to a local hospital. Because of Lieutenant Dan Weiske and Sergeant Rob Wills' quick actions, which through disregard of their own personal safety and by their prompt and alert actions under unusual circumstances, they saved the life of another, we proudly present them with the Appleton Police Department's Life-Saving Medals. Police Star is one of the highest honors that a law enforcement officer can get. Sergeant Greg Pieper and Officer Brandon Edwards, can you step forward, please? Officer Edwards and Sergeant Pieper were investigating a retail theft at a gas station on South Oneida Street. The male had stolen items and was loitering behind the store. Neither the dispatch center nor the officers were provided information leading them to believe that this was a dangerous or armed suspect. The suspect was found sitting in front of Sacred Heart Church. Officer Edwards and Pieper arrived at the suspect's location at the same time. As they walked towards the suspect, he stood up from the seated position. The officers observed the suspect's hands were inside his pockets. Sergeant Pieper was concerned the subject may have a weapon in his pockets and gave him verbal commands to remove his hands from his pockets. The suspect did not remove his hands from his pockets. Sergeant Pieper escalated his commands in tone and volume, and the suspect took his hands out of his pockets. The suspect began pointing a gun at Sergeant Pieper and Officer Edwards. The suspect then took his left hand, reached over the top of the gun, and manipulated the slide to chamber around. Sergeant Pieper and Officer Edwards' reactions were precise and immediate. Based on their expertise and advanced training, they acted quickly to stop the imminent threat to themselves. For their performance of the duty under life-threatening conditions to stop a violent person who posed a significant threat to their immediate safety, we proudly present Sergeant Greg Pieper and Officer Brandon Edwards with the Appleton Police Department's Police Star Medals. She's just too cute for that. Our next award is for Officer of the Year. Ryan Condon, would you please step forward? Officer Ryan Condon goes above and beyond his regular patrol duties and assists officers on complex investigations. Supervisors often call him to take over sensitive crime investigations just because of the skill level that he's demonstrated. One of his significant cases in the past year was a sexual assault, child enticement, and battery of a child. Officer Condon executed search warrants, conducted interviews, and obtained a confession of the suspect who he had met online. His handling of this investigation demonstrated his character, dependability, and the exceptional level of police work he does on a daily basis. In one incident, Officer Condon took a call in on his off day for a second-degree sexual assault of a child and a child enticement case. He interviewed the victim, interviewed the suspect, received confessions, and confined the suspect. He also received a letter from the Department of Justice, Division of Criminal Investigation, praising Officer Condon for his assistance and performance in an undercover online investigation involving a 25-year-old Appleton male who was engaged in sexually explicit chat with a 14-year-old female. Officer Condon provided assistance in this operation, resulting in the suspect being taken into custody. Officer Condon also has demonstrated those characteristics and core values of compassion, integrity, and I'm extremely proud to have him as an Appleton Police Department officer. For his exemplary level of outstanding service to the community that spans an entire year, we present Officer Ryan Condon with the Appleton Police Department's Officer of the Year Award.
Everybody hear me okay? In the back of the room too? Thank you for being here. Before I get started, I'd like everybody to give another round of applause to the other award recipients. Anybody who knows me would tell you that I don't like to talk much, so I won't be taking up much of your time. This is an incredible honor for me to be standing up here accepting this award, and it was something that I never expected. Being a police officer is all I can remember ever wanting to do, ever since I was a little kid. My dad will tell a slightly different story. When I was younger, we had a conversation about what I wanted to do when I got older. And he's retired now, but he used to travel the country giving presentations and speaking at different business seminars and conferences all over the country. And he would sometimes open with this story that we had when I was a child. And he asked me what I wanted to do when I got older. And my first answer obviously was a professional athlete. And he said, what do you want to do if you can't be a professional athlete? And I said, then I want to be a police officer. And he said, well, what if that doesn't work out? And I said, then I want to be a hotel manager. Because apparently I like the smell of hotel lobbies when we go. He said, what if you can't be any of those things? What if none of those work out? And I said, if none of those work out, then I guess I can just be a regular businessman like you. So for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a police officer. So again, this is a huge honor for me to be standing up here. I have a list of people that I'd like to thank. Without their help, I wouldn't be standing up here today. First, I'd like to thank my peers for nominating me, the awards committee for voting for me, and the chief for approving this award. I'd like to thank my lieutenant, Chad Alvac, for his support and guidance over the last couple of years. Anytime I wanted to talk or had a question about a case or I was stuck with something, he was always available to offer advice and help me work through it. I'd like to thank my captain, Todd Freeman, for his support over the course of my career. He allowed me to follow my interests, and he was crucial for sending me to multiple trainings that were very beneficial for my improvement as an officer and investigator. I have to thank my brothers and sisters on patrol. Without them, I wouldn't be up here. Every single case that I worked, every call that I was on, I had help with. Whether the task was large or small, they were there doing whatever was needed to help me out. And I would not be accepting this award if it wasn't for them. And lastly, but most importantly, I'd like to thank my family. My mother, Mary Lou, my father, Mark, and my brother, Sean. I had an amazing childhood growing up in Madison, and they were nothing but supportive when I wanted to start my career here. They helped mold me into the person that I am today, and I wouldn't be standing up here, let alone even employed here, if it wasn't for them. So thank you for everything. And I'll end with this. Being a police officer, like any other profession, has its ups and downs. We're always in the public eye, and we're often the subject of intense scrutiny, especially in the last year or so. But these are stresses that we accept and that we take on in stride, because we have a lot of pride in what we do. It's an honor to wear this uniform and badge every single day and to protect and serve this community. I'm very grateful to be accepting this award today, and I will continue to work hard every single day to improve myself as an officer and a person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. That ends the program. Thank you all for coming. We do have some cake, and those officers that were sworn in tonight, please stop at the table up here. We need to get some signatures with Amanda before you leave. Thank you for coming.